I deserve it personalities with very human, particularly in the area of security actors of the country. So I feel I am very happy and excited to be here, and I consider it as an honor and a fitting tribute to the work we've been doing, particularly at NAFDAC, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, that has given me this platform to be able to excel and also be able to be considered for this award.
Issues canvassed by the speakers, if implemented, will improve the security atmosphere of the country. Joseph Kadri, ITV News, Abuja.
The Federal Road Safety Corps has mandated the use of the National Identification Number for the processing of driver's license. In a statement signed by its Assistant Corps Marshal Bisi Kazim, the FRSA management resolved that effective 21st December 2020, all applicants for the national driver's license in Nigeria must present the national identification number from the NIMC before they can be captured for any class of the licenses produced by the FRSC. It noted that the development followed the federal government's directive on the harmonization of citizens' data by relevant agencies, explaining that all driver's license applicants are therefore expected to present their national identification number from the date before they can be attended to, stressing that there will be no waiver for anyone. Mr. Bisi emphasized on the need for a harmonized database of all citizens and described it as critical to resolving security challenges in the country. He urged the public, especially those going for their driver's license processing, to heed to the directives and follow the procedures for getting their NIN from the National Identification Management Commission, which must be verified to be authentic before action can be taken on their application for their licenses. The House of Representatives has appealed to the Nigerian Communications Commission to give a reasonable amount of time to enable Nigerians meet with the instruction of submitting their national identity numbers to service providers and not the 2 weeks given. The House made the appeal in a motion moved by the Minority Leader of the House of Representatives, Ndudi Elumelu. Sharon Ajayi has details.
In his motion, the Minority Leader noted that the time frame of 2 weeks given by the NCC for the submission of NIN to telecom subscribers is too short.
Given the period that we are, it will be almost impossible for Nigerians, 200 million Nigerians, to meet that 2 weeks. Hence, this motion. The motion is not saying that we are condemning it. The motion is seeking for NCC to extend that 2 weeks.
The House is concerned that if the NCC is allowed to carry out these directives to bring untold hardship, as millions of subscribers will be disconnected this Yuletide period, which could spell disaster for citizens of the country.
They will first of all go to National Identity Card Management Commission and register themselves. That alone is cumbersome. After the registration, you will not take your NIN number and now look for your service provider. You can imagine the queue. So 2 weeks, in my opinion, and I think it should be the opinion of every member that is representing Nigerians, 2 weeks is damn too small.
This is an opportunity for Nigerians to know the rationale behind this lofty policy.
The SIM card verification should be for a duration of 6 weeks, ending 28th February 2021.
The House of Representatives mandated its Committee on Communications to ensure compliance. Sharon Ajayi reporting.
Still to come on ITV World News, World Health Organization to investigate COVID-19 origin in Wuhan, China. Details after the break. Thank you for staying tuned. The United States has set a double record on Wednesday, registering as it recorded more than 3,700 deaths and over 250,000 new COVID-19 cases in just 24 hours. Roslyn Evorame reports that with the new fatalities, the death toll in the U.S. has now risen to 307,291.
They
country has seen a spectacular increase in COVID infections for more than a month, with about 113,000 people currently hospitalized due to the virus. According to data from the Department of Health and Human Services, the numbers far output the rest of the world. About 5% of the U.S. population has contracted the virus, and 17 million people. The U.S. state has already rolled out its vaccination program against COVID-19, and it aims to get 2.9 million doses of the vaccine developed by Pfizer and German partner BioNTech by the end of the week. Redfield had noted that the latest coronavirus increase has already proven more devastating than previous waves in terms of its geographic scope and rising infection rates, hospitalization, and deaths. Earlier this month, the University of Washington's Influential Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation had projected the death toll could reach nearly 450,000 by March without greater attention to social distancing and mask wearing. At this development, the White House announced on Wednesday that U.S. Vice President Mike Pence and his wife, Karen, will be vaccinated for COVID-19 on Friday in a public event. Surgeon General Jeremy Adams also will get the vaccine on Friday. The announcement comes as resources close to President-elect Joe Biden says he is expected to receive the vaccine as soon as next week. Meanwhile, legislators are also bargaining over another relief bill to mitigate the economic effects of the virus. Rosalind Eworami reporting.
The World Health Organization has said that a team of 10 international scientists will travel to the Chinese city of Wuhan next month to investigate the origins of COVID-19. Beijing has been reluctant to agree to an independent inquiry, and it has taken many months of negotiations for the World Health Organization to be allowed access to the city. The virus is thought to have come from a market in the city selling animals, but the search for the source has led to tensions, notably with the U.S. A biologist on the team traveling to Wuhan told newsmen that the World Health Organization was not seeking to apportion blame, but rather to prevent future outbreaks. Dr. Lendet said the aim was to find out when the virus began circulating and whether or not it originated in Wuhan. The mission is expected to last 4 or 5 weeks. Meanwhile, a rushed lockdown of 9 tower blocks in Melbourne, Australia, due to an outbreak of coronavirus breached human rights laws. Rosalind Eworami reports that about 3,000 people were confined under police guard to their public housing units from 4th July up to 2 weeks after a state government order.
Melbourne residents were given no notice, meaning many people were left without food or medicine. The Victoria government denies that the detention broke human rights laws. The Victorian Ombudsman, who has no legal power but in the official investigator into government complaints, called on the government to apologize to residents for the harm and distress caused by the lockdown, but Housing Minister Richard Wayne rejected that recommendation.
Among my recommendations are that the Victorian government apologise to the people detained at the public housing estates for the harm and distress caused by the immediacy of their lockdown. This apology would mark an important step in restoring community trust and affirm our commitment to the protection of human rights that are for all of us, whatever our state of health or wealth, background or behaviour, wherever we live.
We know that it was extremely distressful for many residents across those 9 public housing towers. But the simple reality is that the virus was in many of those towers, and in fact it was raging through those towers. And frankly, the government really had no option, because ultimately we had to be about saving people's lives.
In early July, a second wave of coronavirus was just beginning in Melbourne, and authorities were scrambling to locate cases and stop the virus. A cluster of about 24 infections were found in the towers, prompting a desire for a swift containment. On 4 July, health officials recommended an intervention with a lockdown to begin on 5 July to allow planning for food supplies and logistics. However, Premier Daniel Andrews announced that it will begin immediately, where dozens of police officers were at the housing estate shortly after. Rosalind Eworame reporting.
A powerful snowstorm is sweeping through the northeastern U.S. with warnings in place for 14 states affecting more than 60 million people. Some parts of Pennsylvania and New York are predicted to see as much as 2 feet of snow. Again, Rosalind Eworame has details.
The National Weather Service has warned of dangerous, if not impossible, travel conditions and isolation power surges in the worst affected areas. 2 people died in a crash involving dozens of cars in central Pennsylvania. Officials said they do not expect the storm to disrupt COVID-19 vaccine distribution, which began in the U.S. on Monday. However, there were reports of some coronavirus testing centers in several states being temporarily closed. Forecasters said the storm could dump up to 2 feet of snow in an area stretching from eastern Pennsylvania to New York's Catskill Mountains, with a foot in the rest of the northeast. Police in Pennsylvania said a pile-up left 2 people dead on the Interstate 80 in Clinton County. Several people were also injured in the crash, which involved between 30 to 60 vehicles. 6 people were also hurt in a separate multi-car collision in New York City involving 27 vehicles. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio warned that the storm could be the biggest the city has seen in years, warning residents to take the forecast seriously. Schools across the city have also moved to online learning. Outdoor dining has been suspended and ferry routes stopped. Rosalind Eworame reporting.
President Donald Trump's trade chief has said the outgoing U.S. administration is in talks with the UK to try to seal a mini deal to reduce trade tariffs. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer said he was hopeful for a deal that could see punitive tariffs on Scottish whiskey lowered. The UK recently said it would drop tariffs against the U.S. over subsidies for aerospace firms. This was in a bid to reach a post-Brexit trade deal with Washington. In his first international interview, Mr. Lighthizer suggested the UK would need to go further than last week's announcement, breaking with the EU support of European market Airbus. America's central bank has said that prospects for the U.S. economy have brightened since September, despite a recent surge in coronavirus cases. Federal Reserve officials said they expected growth of roughly 4.2% next year, better than previously forecast. They forecast a fall in the unemployment rate from 6.7% to 5%. The update comes as U.S. medical authorities begin to distribute vaccines against COVID-19. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has however warned that the coming months would be challenging as the U.S. battles a surge in coronavirus cases, while businesses and the unemployed face deepening hardship. But he said he was hopeful that widespread distribution of the vaccines would enable a strong rebound in the second half of 2021. And now talking sports, where Liverpool defeated Tottenham 2-1 in Wednesday's Premier League. Roberto Firmino scored a wonderful bullet header in the dying moments of Wednesday's match to stun Tottenham Hotspur and move Liverpool to the top of the English Premier League. With the game seemingly heading to a 1-1 draw after goals from Mo Salah and Son Heung-min, Firmino produced a moment of real quality in the 90th minute, powerfully heading home from a corner to fire the visitors to a 2-1 victory. Although still early in the season, the result could prove pivotal in the title race, with both sides battling it out for the top spot. Victory moves the reigning champion 3 points clear of his nearest rivals. There was plenty of drama off the pitch too, as the two managers, Jose Mourinho and Jurgen Klopp, were involved in a touchline exchange that seemingly ended amicably. To end the world news, a look again at our top stories. The United States has set a double record on Wednesday, registering as it recorded more than 3,700 deaths and over 250,000 new COVID-19 cases in just 24 hours, according to figures from Johns Hopkins University. Also brought you the story that the World Health Organization has said that a team of 10 international scientists will travel to the Chinese city of Wuhan next month to investigate the origins of COVID-19. And finally, President Donald Trump's trade chief has said the outgoing U.S. administration is in talks with the UK to try to seal a mini deal to reduce trade tariffs. And that's it on the world news on ITV. Thanks for watching. I'm Philip Omo-Gupon. Good afternoon.
Independent television, certainly the best.